Okay. The meeting for the Protection and Welfare for June 11th, 2018, room 207. It is now 5:30-ish. We will begin. We'll start with a roll call. Alder Stevens.
Here.
Alder Vanderleest. Alder Stoyer.
Here.
And myself, Alder Scannell. All are present. Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
Okay.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. Oh, that's right, I can't. Keep wanting to use my finger to scroll.
Do that for control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve our minutes from our last, from May 22nd, 2018 Protection and Welfare meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Vanderleest,
Second.
seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody want to approve the seconds? Okay, we'll do it the minutes. Okay. Yes. The minutes have been approved. Okay, we're on to regular business. Number one, consideration with possible action on an appeal by Jeff Sanders to the denial of his animal permit requesting more than 2 dogs at his premise. Staff?
I can defer to Officer Mavis,
Yep.
who's here to talk about the denial.
That would be fine.
So you may proceed. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think of it there.
Yeah.
So I handed out a packet that you guys should have received to
Yep.
our clerk's office. I had received in 2017 a couple of animal complaints to an address and in the area of 815 South Irwin Avenue. And at that time, I discovered that there were 3 dogs being kept at a property where there appeared to be a barking issue. I made contact with a gentleman who was later identified to be Jeff Sanders, and I believe his wife is Kim Sanders, if I'm not mistaken. And I tried knocking on the door. There were 2 dogs that were barking outside excessively at that time. And one of them was later, I guess, found to be in the house. Knocked on the door. There was like a screened porch area. I didn't want to enter that area. And the gentleman eventually came to the door after I had tried phoning and stuff like that. Cell phones that were listed on file, explaining the circumstance, and then I greeted him outside this exterior screen door. He said he did not hear the doorbell ring or me knocking on the door. He was in the upper unit of the residence listening to music at that time. I mentioned to him that, hey, we'd received a barking complaint in the area. He wanted to know who had called. At that time, the complainant wished to remain anonymous, and I'm not going to divulge that information. And it did appear that we've had a couple of barking complaints over the years, over in that area, specifically like the last 2 years. And I explained to him that obviously if he had 3 dogs, he needed to obtain an excess animal permit and give him a month to get city licenses. I had received a phone call almost a year to the date, and no permit was ever received, and I got a complaint from one of the neighbors. And it was obviously to address that Mr. Sanders still had the 3 dogs. One of my conversations that I have is you either obtain an excess animal permit or you get down to the permitted dogs, which our city council has approved acceptable, which is 2 dogs, 3 cats. And it was to my knowledge that obviously this was not done, and that he had been telling neighbors that he had a permit, it was approved. So then I thought, well, this is something that I need to address. I sent an animal violation notice to the address saying that you have a month to complete the permit. It is my understanding that you still have excess animals at the address and no approved permit, and we have barking complaints, and we need to get that under control. I spoke with Mr. Sanders, and he advised me that his permit was approved, and I said, well, no, I would take care of that. So to my knowledge, that was never done. And he explained to me that he has 3 dogs himself for his children on the property. They're his family, and I get that. He also advised that a 4th dog comes on the property, which is a family member's when they come into town for some kind of dialysis or treatment or something like that. So there are actually usually, at the majority of the time, 4 dogs on the premises. So that needing to be addressed. Part of the permit process is that I go door to door and hand out neighborhood letters. So I handed out neighborhood letters Several of them came back, okay? I have to take that into consideration, obviously, and I'm in a position where I don't live in that area, but I have to try and take other neighbor and residents' considerations, or, obviously opinions into consideration. And based on the information received, I denied the permit. Mr. Sanders got quite confrontational with me on the phone. In fact, quite argumentative, that I basically told him I was on a verbal punching bag and I was going to end the conversation. I then hung up on him. To me, it's, if you're requesting a permit, there's a process. If you've been denied a permit, there's an appeals process, of which I explained to him, okay? Obviously belittling people, belittling neighbors, and attacking me because you don't agree with my decision, I'm sorry, that's inappropriate. Several neighbors have come forward, phone calls, letters, the profanities in which he's expressed to them in regards to the barking dogs, in regards to their concern for the dogs being left outside in cold temperatures, has just been nasty, downright nasty. Some of these words I choose not even to repeat because I personally take them offensive of what he's called there. Now, Mr. Sanders decided to file a formal records request and obtain copies of these handwritten letters. He took it upon himself today to get into a verbal altercation with a neighbor, calling her a C word and whatnot. Okay? I have problems with that. I was not the officer that responded. I had a very, very busy day. I find that that is not neighborly. And I feel like if you're trying to be exempt from our city's ordinances, this is not the way to be doing it. Not at all. So with that being said, I feel like if this were a conversation where there's a pending case and someone went and harassed someone based on maybe witness information, that's considered intimidating a witness, threatening them. Okay? And I don't feel like that's permissible. To be honest, I feel like a disorderly conduct citation should have been in order. Doesn't sound like one was issued. These neighbors are concerned for their safety because of his demeanor. So I hope you had time to review the letters because I think they'll speak volumes.
Yep. Any questions?
Yeah, just,
Yes?
thank you, Sharon. Officer Mavis, when Mr. Sanders was talking to you on the phone and you said you felt intimidated in that, I mean, could you have given a citation or an arrest on something based on over the phone? I mean, did you feel that was that close to that point?
I felt like today a citation should have been issued for disorderly conduct. If you're going to be screaming profanities at neighbors because they didn't quite agree with your request for a permit application to be exempt from 2 dogs in the city, that to me would have justified a citation. And I would not bat an eyelash to issue one. As far as being on the phone, I'm a police officer. Sometimes people say not so nice stuff. I take it with a grain of salt, but at the end of the day, I'm not a verbal punching bag and I don't have to sit and listen to it.
I guess the one thing I have a hard time with, and it was repeated several times, is the fact that there is a process that you need to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And, Alder Scannell and I have been on this committee before.
Just questions.
Yeah, and I think it's important that continues. So that's all the questions I have.
Right, and if I could add 2 things. I always explain to people, as pet owners, you need to be well-versed in our city's ordinances. If you're going to be a pet owner, it's part of what's involved with the responsibility of owning pets. I know Mr. Sanders continued to call to advise me of stipulations he wanted to, I guess, implement, and I advised him that the city cannot enforce any kind of stipulations, fences, bark collars. Those things should have been done before it even got to this point. And certain requirements were met only after issuing notices, and then even so, he was in violation of not, requiring his cat to have a city license. So it's like, well, everything's in line here, but then not here. And it's like, well, if you're approved, are these just gonna fall to the side next year? I don't know.
Any questions? Thank you, Officer Mavis.
Thank you.
Motion
Anyone?
to open the floor.
Well, let's find out if there's anybody here to speak on this matter.
I think we have a number, yeah.
I'll make a motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. Please step up. Have you filled out a?
Yes.
Thank you, very good. Let me just pass that over to, oh,
I
that's
was
not
just
the,
gonna
okay,
read
okay, okay, yeah. Please state your name and address.
Valerie Lidstone, 1314 Law Street. I'm a neighbor.
Okay.
We've lived there many years, and we've had barking issues over the years. We've tried to approach them several times. It would improve. One summer, they did a fabulous job. We took over some beer and some flowers and said, hey, thanks for the improvement. And, you know, then it gets, next year comes and it just kind of sloughs off again. And it's kind of been a repeated process over the years. A year ago, someone did complain, like she said, and called the police, and he called me and left a very, I answered the phone and he was just very vulgar with a lot of Fs and this and that, and I hung up as fast as I could. And that night I talked to my husband, I said, let's just go over and see what's going on, you know, because I didn't call anybody. And we walked over, you know, at 6 o'clock that night, and he made the initial call at noon, so we figured, you know, cooling off time. And as we approached the property, he was there with his wife and the 2 little girls, and he was saying, get off my property, I know it was you, the police told me it was you, get off my effing property or I'm gonna call the police for
Yeah,
trespassing.
trespassing.
So I was just, you know, shocked at that behavior. So, you know, that was a year ago, and he told us he had a permit, and so it's just not been friendly, especially since then. It's just, and the barking's continued. Like I said, it gets better, then it goes back to leaving them outside to bark, because they just want to be by people. So,
Any questions? Okay,
No,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for this?
I do have a couple written statements of the
Are those the ones that we were given copies of? or they're-
No, there are additional
more?
ones. If
Additional
people
ones?
couldn't make it to speak today, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Somebody's going
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. And you also filled out a form to,
I did.
okay, thank you. Please state your name and address.
I'm Kimberly Sanders. I live at 815 South Irwin Avenue. I am the wife of the husband in question here. First of all, I do 100% agree. My husband's behavior is inappropriate and inexcusable. That being said, there are dogs. I have a statement here I would just like to read to you guys and go forward from there.
Mhm.
So I live at 815 South Irwin Avenue, like I said. We have 3 young children. In our fur family, we have 3 dogs and 1 cat. We were aware that we had applied for a permit a year ago. Didn't realize that it didn't get to the appropriate places and that it wasn't approved. So that was this year. We found out, obviously, that was not the case. So let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm a registered nurse. I work at Aurora Hospital. I work in labor and delivery. My husband, he owns a small web development business. He works out of our home. He also takes care of our 3 young children. We have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a just 12-month-old. So we spend a great deal of time outside. We have a fenced-in yard. We're often with our dogs in that yard. They get plenty of exercise out there. You know, one of the concerns voiced by Officer Mavis was our lot size is insufficient. I tend to disagree with this statement. We have 2 of our 3 dogs. They're 14 and a half. They're no longer very active. However, they do get trips to the dog park. They get walks, different things like that. Our lab, our youngest dog, Harley, she loves to retrieve, and there's plenty of room in the yard for us to play retrieve with her. Our 2 oldest dogs, we've had them since they were young, and there's never been a problem when at the vet for them to be overweight or showing signs where they're not getting the exercise. I'm also aware that the neighbors, that there is a voice concern of the excessive parking, and I know the officer that Officer Mavis was discussing. Myself and my husband, we do apologize for that. I was nearing the end of my due date with our child. I was 37 weeks pregnant, sitting on the floor in the nursery with the music on. I didn't hear her barking outside because most people come in, the doorbell's on the inside of the house. By the time we heard the dogs barking, my husband did go get them in the house and respond to Officer Mavis. one of our oldest dogs is the one that does have an issue with barking. I do agree with that. We've had, some improvement in the past. We've worked with her for many years. If she's in the front porch, she will sometimes bark at the dogs passing by, things like that, but we've rectified that by keeping her in the house. Our animals are our family, and we would do anything to keep them. In fact, the reason we came about adopting Harley, the third dog, was that our 2 older dogs, the inevitable is going to happen in the next year or 2. I'm aware of that. They're large dogs. They're 14 and a half. Carrie and Einstein have never been the only dog, and they have experienced extreme separation anxiety when separate. We've taken one dog to the vet. The other one will howl incessantly until they come home. When we returned home with Harley, we've separated them to take them to their regular vet appointments. That's resolved the issue. So when one of them does pass, we hope that Harley will just be able to step in to the path, per se, and relieve their anxieties. I do apologize for not looking into the city statutes before getting a third dog. I was not aware that there was that statute. Finally, I ask that you take our comments into consideration. Harley, she's been in our home since she was 8 weeks old. It's the only home she's known. She's a wonderful dog. We spent the past 2 years training her. She is not our barker. She doesn't bark hardly at all. We have video of her running along the fence, not aggressively. She does let out a bark, and my husband rectifies it with one command, and she stops. It would be very unfortunate to have to rehome her now, especially because I don't see us needing a permit for 3 dogs in the near future. I think this time next summer, it's not even going to be in question. Our oldest dog is failing. At his recent veterinary appointment, our vet, informed us to start preparing for the worst with him. Anyhow, thank you guys for giving me the time and listening to my opinions.
Any questions? There has been, I did speak with Officer Galvin, who I believe has spoken with you. There was talk of possibly a shock
Yep.
collar.
Yep.
And another fence.
Yep. We are planning on purchasing, if this goes through, 3 bark collars that, and actually a 4th one for my mom's dog. She has been at our house. It was like this last time. It was for a week. It was supposed to be overnight. However, my father is dying right now of lung cancer.
Right.
And he was admitted to the hospital that time for a week. And he's going through the last stage of treatment. If it doesn't take, he's going on hospice. So those visits are going to be coming to an end along with his treatment here in Green Bay. But in the meantime, for the day visits that the dog would be there, it shouldn't be overnight. He'll just have to come down for his treatments and going back home. We'll get a bark collar for that dog as well. That one is a small dog, and yeah, I do agree that can be yippy at times. We'd like to put up a wooden fence. That's always been one of our goals. It's in our budget to do next spring. We have some other things we need to do to our house, roof repairs, things like that we're working on this summer. I wish I had the money to, make everything come into fruition at once, but it doesn't work that way.
Okay. I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this?
So these are the written statements.
Okay, why don't we take a motion to close the floor? Motion by Alder Vandelich to close the floor, second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the floor is now closed. We have a few more pieces here. I'll share, and then I would like them back so I can take a peek too. What, together? Yes. This is from Mr. Sanders, and then notations from
Craig, did you have another one?
No, this is.
All right, okay. All right.
Okay. What are your wishes, gentlemen?
Doesn't sound real good for the Sanders as far as the number of complaints. And the city has expressed that they haven't followed the rules, so it's kind of a tough situation as far as approval, my thoughts. But I'd like to hear from the other people here on the committee.
I guess the concern I have, even though it's not specifically related, somewhat is, but my feeling is that the language that's been used by Mr. Sanders, I kind of wish he would come forward and speak on his behalf, but that's up to him. I have a concern with that. Are you willing to come
I
forward?
could, I was instructed by my wife not to
Not
speak.
to?
But for that reason.
Well,
You might be want to listen to your wife. I bet she knows best. But that's
Well-
entirely up to you. We can open the floor again if you really do want to speak.
I could. You can ask
motion,
another
I
question
make a
if you
motion to
want.
open the floor.
Motion open the floor by Alder Stoyer. Second by Alder Stevens. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The floor is now open. Please go, and if you didn't fill out a form, you can fill it out and hand it to our staff when you get the chance.
Okay.
Your name and address?
My name is Jeff Sanders. I live at 815 South Irwin Avenue. I'm the one that everyone's angry about. Yes, I do get. There's a lot of times that people that meet me for the first time or speak to me for the first time, I've inherited, unfortunately, my mother's tone, where everyone that meets her thinks she's yelling all the time. And to be fair, sometimes I do yell. A history of the situation is, if I could, is last April we received a complaint from a call. Given that for years prior to that, we have been essentially, we felt, myself and my wife included, felt kind of harassed from the neighbors that we share a yard with. Their yard goes 3 deep and ours meets up with theirs. They've made comments about barking and other things that I didn't ask for. Example of raking leaves, cutting grass, where I put the wood pile, things like that. And so there was a lot of conversation about the dogs barking, and you know, for the most part, I think I tried to stop it. Up until they got their second dog, their dogs used to come over in our yard and play. So when they're running back and forth across the fence, they're playing, their tails are up, you know, they're barking, but it's not vicious, it's not, you know, an attack dog. They're just playing, and especially the puppy, just when they kick the ball in their yard. And again, their yard goes across ours, essentially. So when I received the call about the, when Ms. Mavis came to the house, I made an inaccurate assumption that it was them that called. It was the right time of day when the wife was home for lunch. I had asked them previously to tell me if the dogs barked too much. And I made an error in judgment and a snap decision, and a very big error, to call her phone. And the words I said were not great. I was upset because I was looking at over an $800 fine. And then since then, we've tried to keep it under control. Ms. Mavis, at the time that she visited my house, she said, my recollection of the conversation, which may be inaccurate, but is my recollection, she said, "Are you aware that you can't have 3 dogs in the city?" I said, "No." She said, "That's okay, it's just a form, we'll get you one." She gave me the sheet of paper with the violation on it. I don't recall ever getting a second sheet of paper, and it sounded like she would mail me one. Shortly after that, we had our child, and I forgot about everything else because babies are a lot of work. I kept saying, I gotta call, and then, you know, it was something else. At no time did I ever tell anyone that I did have a permit, to my recollection. I said that I was going to file for one, and that when I had my conversation with Miss Mavis at the door, she said that it's not a big, again, she said it's not a big deal, you fill out a form, we'll probably, again, this is my recollection of the conversation, just sign it and it'll be no big deal. So when, again, the neighbors that we don't get along with brought it up again, I said, I'm getting a permit so you can stop bitching about it. Those are my words. Because we have ongoing disagreements with them, which is one of the reasons why, even if we have no dogs, we are going to put up a fence. As far as my actions today, those were not great either. I severely got a whooping from my wife. She said, that really doesn't help our cause. And yeah, I realized that. That one, however, was a fallout between friends. Hopefully she'll agree with me when I apologize in a couple days. Wouldn't be the first time either one of us has snapped at one another, but I found out that from her that she was the one that initially called the police last year. I went to her house with good intentions. I had the letters, which my wife and I agreed we would not use for nefarious purposes, and that was the reason that we got them. We wanted to know what we were defending ourselves from, other than the barking. I went down there, and in her particular letter, she stated that we don't take the dogs to the vets. I just wanted to reassure her that they have seen the vet for every year of their life when they have been a part of our family. And I have records, and they can call. Whoever wants to can call the vet. I said, "Is this you?" She said, "Yes." And I felt myself getting angry because I was under the impression that we were friends and that she would come to me first before doing something like that. So I turned around to leave. My children were playing with her daughter. I said, "Girls, it's time to go." I did say, "Lyra can come to our house, but I don't want you playing here anymore." At that time, she came out of the house, and I don't remember everything she said, but she was basically yelling at me about how the rules don't apply to you. And I said, you know that as well as I told you, I didn't realize there was a 2-dog limit. Anyway, it was at that time she told me that she was the one that called the police, and that's when I lost my temper and started cussing at her. Because again, I thought we were better friends than that. We go down there we've been to their graduation parties, we have drinks together, she comes sits on our pool, her daughter, it was just, I felt betrayed. And so I lost my temper. And back to the other neighbors that came to the house that day, again, just to fill in, I was under the impression that they made the call. And they walked up to the door with big smiling grins on their face, and I interpreted that terribly the wrong way. I have reached out recently to apologize, and they have not returned my text messages. I've been kind of a jerk, and I was always under the impression that it was the voice of one neighbor that didn't like us that was creating all of our problems. It wasn't until the Officer Mavis sent out the letters and I spoke to her about it that I realized that, it's not just one person. I owe some people some apologies. When I spoke to Miss Mavis, yes, I have a recording of the phone call. I don't know if you want to hear it because it's 7 minutes long, but I was merely trying to explain my side of the story. Up to that point, it's been, here's the form, here's what the neighbors say, here's your denial. No one had asked me anything about my opinions. No one had asked me what I would do. And I was merely trying to convey that to her, even though at that point, it was too late to do so, and that's what this was for. I apologized after she hung up on me. I called and left a message and explained to her that, I wasn't trying to be combative or aggressive. I was merely trying to state my case. I have a recording of that as well. I made some mistakes, and we're trying to correct them. But it seems like, the animosity towards, more so me really, I guess, is kind of hurting the rest of our family. And, like I said to the alderman, if it's bark collars and fences, this is what it takes. That's what it'll do. And I have to be a better neighbor. I have to stop jumping to conclusions without proof. So I don't know really where to end. That's basically my side of the story.
Questions?
Well, I appreciate you coming forward, because that was one of my big concerns, was the language and such with the neighbors. And, I know you had a child, your family, but I think it's still a question, it's still a little hard
Quick-
to.
quick
No,
questions.
well, okay, we'll talk about that
Yep, yep,
afterwards.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Questions
That's all
right
I've
now?
got, that's all I have.
Yep.
Okay, I'll fill this out, put it up.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to close the floor. Motion by Alder Vandal East, second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now closed. Care to talk about it now?
Well, I think one of the, I heard both sides, and I understand, the dynamics of the case that way, but I still have a hard time, ignorance is no excuse. I really feel that Officer Mavis did reach out to get that form to them, and that they should have answered in a timely fashion. So, it's a tough luck story all the way around. I feel bad all the way around, but I feel that rules are rules and ordinances are ordinances, and until they change, we need to stick with that. So at this time, I'm leaning that way.
Any other comments? Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in. It's our responsibility to maintain orderly neighborhoods, orderly communities. And there sounds like there's some disorderliness here. And certainly the amount of, the number of letters we've gotten, I think we'd be putting the cart before the horse if we gave you, granted that permit at this time. I think perhaps the dog could go on a short vacation to a friend or a relatives, and perhaps you can mend fences with your neighbors. That has to happen first. There has to be a sense of community with each other, and the neighbors have to be accepting. There's just way too many. If it was 1 or 2, I could see where it could be other issues and the dogs are just in the middle of it, but there is quite a few complaints here. And I appreciate, attempts, but it has to be more than an attempt. It's got to get resolved. The barking's got to get resolved. The shock collar's got to come, or whatever it takes, training, whatever it takes. That has to happen first. And fences mended, and I appreciate you coming forward. I think it was good that you spoke. I think it's good that you realized that you need to make up with your neighbors, because they're your neighbors. And I think that's the key point to me. It's not so much that you didn't know about the ordinance. That happens. I'm not all worked up about that. And I think if it had not been for the other issues, it would not be an issue now. But that there is this problem between you and your neighbors that has to get resolved first. It's unfortunate that the dog needs to find another home. Hopefully it's temporary. Like I know you mentioned the 2 other dogs are old, and maybe one would go down, and then you don't need our permission to bring the other one back. But I should hope, whatever happens, that you and your neighbors can make it up, and you can all get along and have a great barbecue together, and the dogs can run around in everybody's yard and play, and that's what we try to promote. That's what our job is. That's what our responsibility is to do what we can to make for good neighbors, an orderly neighborhood. So I also don't support at this time granting that their permit. So I'll take a motion
Motion
to deny
the appeal.
Deny the appeal by Alder Steuer, seconded by Alder Stevens. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Before you go, I should have told everyone at the beginning of this, the committee just, what we do here is just a recommendation to the full council. Ours is not the final say. The council has the final say, which meets the 19th?
It's at 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock in the room next door here. So you can also appeal to the entire council if you want. If you think you might get somewhere with the entire council, or this is it. So with that, we'll move on to
Number two.
number 2. Consideration with possible action on a request by Walmart Stores East LP at 2250 West Mason Street to amend their liquor license to include stalls and/or canopy locations in parking lots specifically designated for online grocery pickup. Staff?
Law Department would recommend holding this request. This request to amend the license premise would allow what is called click and collect alcohol sales. Our current ordinances don't have any provisions that adequately regulate this type of activity to ensure compliance with state liquor laws. Accordingly, staff is working on preparing a draft ordinance to present to the committee for approval. There are other municipalities that have ordinances like this in place. I believe De Pere is actually in the process of drafting one up. So we can expect to have this on the agenda for the next P&W meeting in July, and if everything goes according to schedule, should be approved in August, and then we could bring this item back at that time once the ordinance is in place.
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold.
Motion to hold by Alder Steuer. Second by Alder Vanderleest. Any discussion on this? Everybody wants to hold it? Let's all vote. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're holding that item.
All right. Okay, we're good.
Item number 3, consideration with possible action on a change of agent for Shackle Stores Operating Company LLC at 2430 East Mason Street. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
Law Department has no objection?
Law
Law Department,
Law
and
Department
the
has
PD.
no objections.
PD, no, you concur? Okay,
Motion to approve.
motion approved by Alder Vanderleest, second by Alder Stevens, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Yep, we're good to go.
All right, item number 5.
4.
4, I did move it down, it's out Chapel again?
Or-
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
Okay.
for a cider license.
Yep, renewal application for a Class A beverage and Class A cider license for Shackle Stores Operating Company LLC at 2430 East Mason Street, pending the approval of the change of agent at June 19th, 2018 City Council meeting, and with the approval of the proper authorities. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Steuer.
Second.
Second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5.
One second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're doing good.
We've been doing well though, yeah?
Yeah.
What's in this stuff?
Just water and vodka.
All
And
right,
gin.
we're good to go.
Okay. Consideration with possible action on an application for a Class A beverage, Class A cider license by Shackle Stores Operating Company at 2016 South Military Avenue for the 2018-19 license year. Staff?
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously.
Good to go.
Okay, item number 6, consideration with possible action on a request by Main Street Dreams LLC at 1238 Main Street to extend issuing their liquor license until early July, granted at the February 19th, 2018 meeting. Staff?
This licensee was granted their license back in February. However, the license has not been issued, as the licensee has not obtained approvals from inspections and has not picked up their license from the clerk's office. I believe construction is still going on at the premise, which is why the license hasn't been issued. And under our ordinance, inoperative or unissued licenses, a license which has been granted, meaning approved by council but hasn't been issued, hasn't received approval from inspections and picked up from the clerk's office, and is not in continuous use, or has not been in continuous use as indicating an ongoing business for a period of in excess of 60 days, is presumed invalid and subject to revocation unless otherwise authorized by common council. So accordingly, the licensee is seeking that extension.
Any problems with extending it?
It's up to, there's no legal basis to withhold the extension. It's up to the discretion of the committee and hearing from the
How many
licensee.
days has it been?
I believe he was up, so he was approved in
In February,
February
So
19th, so 60 days would have been,
April.
right. So it's been
That's
a
June
few,
already.
right.
Did he have anything to weigh in on this one? No? Is there anyone here to speak on this issue?
Motion open the floor.
Motion open the floor by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you get a chance to fill out the, if you fill out when you get a chance to, thank you. Okay, your name and address, please?
Chris Schwab, 1374 Delsman. I just asked for more time. Remodeling is taking longer than anticipated, and during that time, I found out that I had cancer surgery, and I've been laid up for a little while, and now I'm back to the remodeling, so that's the reason for the
Deadline.
request.
Okay. When do you think you'll be finished? Roughly?
Hoping to go for like the July 1st, the next 30, 45 days. So.
Okay. Yep. Any questions?
No.
No? Okay.
Yes,
Yep,
thanks.
thanks. Yeah, I hope you're doing better.
Yep. Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No? Motion by Alder Vanderleest to grant the extension, second by Alder Stevens. Yep, hopefully the dream can become a reality soon. And I have no problem extending it. I see no reason not to. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously.
I'm sorry, what was the second on that motion? It was
Alder Stevens.
Vanderleest Stevens.
Yep. Pretty good one, huh? Dream to reality. Good one.
I love it. Don't ever change.
Well, my wife makes me once in a while. She's pretty right.
Good luck.
No, she's not yet. She's still,
But you're
yeah, I'm ready to go.
at the pause.
She got the stress balls. Is that where is it? I carry it with me every
Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, item number 7. Consideration with possible action on an application for an available Class B combination license by Francisco Soto at 1805 North Irwin, currently 4 available. So we'd be down to 3 then?
Yes.
Okay. Staff?
Law department would actually recommend denial based on the determination that the applicant is a habitual law offender. And I believe we do have, the board should have access to the denial memo. If not, I do have hard copies kind of listing what the offenses were, all which substantially relate to the license activity. And in addition, the law department in its review noticed that the applicant did not state that he had been convicted of any offense, which was not truthful. PD, upon their additional review, have some additional information with respect to that, so I will defer to them for additional info.
Just no, just.
Yep.
I did not do the business plan. Officer Carlson did, and I contacted him. He, in his background, he did find the arrest on this, and he had no immediate concerns as it was to his, again, talking, as a hearsay talking to Officer Carlson via phone, that was not a felony. in our neighborhood. It has been a good neighborhood business as far as we, the police, are concerned. There is a language barrier with Mr. Soto, so I believe it was, interpretation was helped with his daughter who was sitting next to him.
Susanna.
So when I did also talk to Officer Carlson, it was on his list to ask them about that arrest and get it clarified on why it was not put down on the initial application. Officer Carlson stated that he forgot his list at the office when he went to meet with the Sotos. So we are partially or to blame for the not having the clarification on why it was not on.
Okay,
on
but,
there. So there are those circumstances as well.
okay, but they are misdemeanors, there are no felonies, correct? Yep, okay. All right. So it's strictly that, that he failed to report it.
As far as my understanding, yes.
That's the only reason for.
That and it, under the statutes, a felony is a bar to receiving a license as is being a habitual law offender, which there is a little bit of subjectivity to that. When there are more than, 2 offenses, law department feels that that could be an indication of being a habitual law offender, and there was one from a few years ago. And then taking that in combination with the fact that it wasn't disclosed on the application, we felt that it needed to be addressed.
Okay, but there is a language barrier that may have played a role.
And,
perhaps?
and even looking at our prior arrest, there was language line needed to be used in that as well.
Do we have a form that's,
That's bilingual, I'm not sure. As far as the application,
that might be something to look into.
So, and it would be available to us through Natalia Sidon, through that, but Mr. Soto brought his daughter who was acting as interpreter.
Interpreter, okay.
At that time.
At that time, okay. But the officer you spoke to, I'm sorry,
Carlson?
Officer Craig
thank you.
Carlson is the one who helped complete the business plan.
And he's feeling,
He looked into it and at that time, as far as the police were concerned, was okay with moving forward.
okay. Question?
Actually, I know this is for Mr. Soto, but
Mhm.
there's information on Mr. Neal as well. Do we have to hold off on that, or, is that part of
that's
it?
that's a different agenda
I'm
item.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay, I just
Yep,
have,
Yep.
excuse me. All right, never mind. Well, all the scandal, I know you bring up the fact that with misdemeanors and that versus felonies, we've talked about that. And if there's a pattern, 2001, 2005, pretty far, quite a while ago, 2016, you got one there. So, the police seem to feel okay with it, so I'm leaning that way right now, after further discussion. What's the most?
You okay with it?
I'd say give him a chance.
Give him a chance. Yeah, we don't know why he did not report it, but if he had reported this, it's possible because of the latest one in the history that it might have been still rejected by the law department, but there are no felonies, and and there's only one in Brown County, the latest one. Figures had to be the latest one. But I too feel that the PD most closest to this, working with them, feel confident, so I agree to too. So I'll take a motion.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Alder Vanderleest.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
You like that word, don't you?
All together now, all together now. I better get back to my agenda.
We're good to move forward. Yep, we're set.
Yep, I had to get there. I was looking at the documentation. Number 8, consideration as possible action on an application for a Class B combination license for the 2018-2019 license year by Baker and MacArthur, Inc. at 1605 University Avenue, currently WTF Kim, Inc. Staff.
Law law department has no objections.
No objections.
Yeah. Cute.
I'll let them- Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Vanderleest,
Second.
second by Alder Stephens. Takes me back to my high school days there, teaching. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously.
All right, we are good.
Okay, item number 9. Consideration with possible action on an application for a Class B combination license by R&K Neal LLC at 708 Boardart Street for the 2018-19 license year, currently McNeil's GB LLC. Staff?
Law Department recommends denial of this appeal based on the determination that the applicant is an habitual law offender for offenses that substantially relate to the license activity, and he did not fully disclose those offenses in the application. Most notably, his most recent offense was from April of 2018, allowing underage persons to enter a licensed premise, and that incident resulted in 2 underage persons being assaulted by other patrons in the establishment.
So could you repeat that? There was an altercation following that?
Yes, there were the two underage individuals that were let into the bar were allegedly assaulted in the bar itself.
Injuries?
None were noted in the report, and I don't believe any citations were issued beyond underage drinking to the 2 individuals who were let in, and then the allowing of underage persons into the establishment itself.
PD concurs with the law.
Okay.
Make a motion to open the floor. if someone-
Is there anybody here on this? Okay, motion to open the floor by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Floor is now open. Did you get a chance to fill out the form too?
No, I did not.
Okay, when you fill out, when you get the chance there, and your name and address?
Hi, my name is Ricardo Neal. My address is 708, no, that's the business address. 2263 Samantha Street, De Pere, Wisconsin.
Okay.
In relations to the problems that we were just talking about, that night I was attending bar. I am one of the owner of the establishment. And my bartender called off and one was sick. So I was bartending, but I also had 2 bouncers. I had a bouncer at each door that night. And I observed the girls walked in through the back door, and I called my bouncers and I asked him to check those people. So I saw when he went over there and he checked the girls and he said they're good. I did not know that one of the girls was related to him. So I served them, and the girl that got into the fight even asked me to hold her purse behind the bar because it was busy. So I had her purse over the bar, and then I saw the mood changed, and I went over there and I had a talk with her, and she said, "I'm okay, I won't cause no problems." And next thing I know, she was having someone on the dance floor pulling her by the hair. So I went over there and I kicked her out. I was not aware that she was underage because I had people to check the IDs at the door and maintain that for me, but I still kept an eye open. I called the cops because she came into my face. So I'm the one who called the police to come and handle the situation. And I'm not sure if it was, were you present at that? Okay. So yeah, they came, and the officer came back into the room and said, this is a really shitty situation. I'm sorry that it has to be this way, but those girls are not of age. And I said, what? I did not know that. They did give me a citation, and I fired my bouncer on the spot. I have zero tolerance for that. I am from Jamaica. I've been in this country for 8 years, and I've been bartending for at least 4 years out of it because I knew I wanted to own a bar, but I had no experience on what it's like here. So I worked in various bars and guest bartenders at different establishments for the experience. Never once I've had any problems serving underagers or minors. My employers always trust me to regulate my environment that I'm in, and I try to do so with the bar that I had. I've had some problems prior to that, back in the days, and it was because of my partner. I had a business partner that wasn't honest with me and everything that he wanted the bar to be. So, which is the reason why I'm taking over solely by myself. And so far I've cleaned up the environment. I've tried to do everything that I can, working with the police department to regulate and create a safe and fun atmosphere for my customers to be in. I just want to run a community tavern, make some money to take care of me and my family. I have no malicious intentions, and like I say, I've talked to Officer Strider over the months of the changes, and I've been in cooperation with the police department ever since, and try to make the best decision possible to cooperate with the city laws and ordinance. So,
Questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else here to speak on this?
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor by Alder Steuer.
Second.
Second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're now closed. So is that, he has been working with the PD on,
Yes, he's, over the past, how long have you had the license there from the very beginning?
2 years. Yes.
And he will admit too, in probably the first 6 months to a year, they were not smooth at all. But he's been making efforts to clean it up, yes. Is it where we want it to be? No.
Nope.
But a lot of bars are.
Right.
Has he been making efforts? Yes. He has welcomed some of the bars that were always welcomed, asked for police to go through. He has nothing seemed malicious, but I think it's an ongoing problem. But are the police calls less there this year than the first year? Definitely. Is there still issues that need to be talked about? Yes. As far as the stuff that was missed on the application, I guess I don't have any knowledge of that, on why it was not put down or anything like that.
motion
Motion to open the floor.
motion over the floor by Alder Steuer.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, please step up and,
A lot of those things are whatever was missed on the application. I still struggle with keeping track of what was convicted or what wasn't, and I didn't think, for example, like traffic violations, or me and my wife, we had a few issues in the past, due to how life were for us. It wasn't the smoothest, and we have a couple young kids, and we just got married, and the financial situation is not there to where we want it to be, so teeth and tongue met, and it got a little bit out of hand. Sometimes I put, to my best knowledge, I put everything that I remember at that time on the paper. I didn't ask for a record pull or anything to see what was on there, because when I talked to the police department or some of the officers that were there, that wasn't a recommendation. So I wrote down, to the best of my knowledge, what I've been, the law violations that I've had. I wasn't trying to be shady or hiding anything. I am a pretty straightforward and open person. I don't deny, I take responsibility for my actions, regardless of the circumstances or the consequences. So I just wanted to put that out there, and hopefully you guys understand and give me a second chance to make it right. Thank you.
Motion to close the floor.
motion to close the floor by Alder Steuer. Second by Alder Vanderleest. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I just have
Sure, go ahead.
a question for police.
Oh, okay.
You were saying that the calls have been less. I mean, they've been progressively going less and less each year. This is over the last 3 years, 2 years?
2.5.
2.5 years. So I guess I wanted to ask what maybe some of the calls, because they're not listed here, as far as what they may have been, just disturbances or?
I used to be a night shift lieutenant up until last week, so I was over on Bodar Street quite a bit. When a lot of these calls were going on, not the one with the conviction or at the underage. Along there, we had a lot of fights, a lot of loud music. At bar close, people would kind of spill out onto the sidewalk, and there'd be just quite a few disturbances left and right, where pretty much our officers on a Friday or Saturday night back in January, February, we knew at 2 o'clock in the morning, we go to Bodart Street, and we just hang out there because we knew what was gonna happen. And even with us there were plenty of times we're there arresting one person, and there would be another fight that would break out because people were spilling out of the bar. I can tell you, it has cleaned up. In the past couple months, I don't remember us being there more than any other bar in Green Bay, where we're not sitting there anymore on a Friday or Saturday night. Where earlier this year, yes, we devote our resources. Pretty much Bodart Street was where our downtown officers would be every Friday and Saturday night, right around bar close.
Well, that is a little concerning. I mean, if you have to go down there and just wait knowing that something's gonna happen, to me, that's a bit of a concern, so.
Yeah, but not anymore, Dave, that was.
Well,
Yep. And was it, as far, I know there's been other issues on Bodart with other bars, is that,
We do have problems with some of the other bars on Bodart Street as well. McNeil's was part of it, but yes, we do have problems with other bars on Bodart Street as well. But at the time, it seemed like the problems were coming out of McNeil's that we were dealing with.
So my thoughts are we give him another chance here, keep his business going, and if he's making improvements and, you know, if he moves forward on it, I don't see any problem for him the next, when he applies again. So I would say give him a chance and see how it goes.
you concur? Alder Steuer, thinking?
I am. Part of me wants to do that. I still have some concerns as far as what the police were saying. At this time, I would deny myself.
Okay, well, I think because he is working with the police and he has made improvements, I just hope that that keeps going, and I don't have a problem with supporting his appeal. As long as things are going in the right direction, and I think the important thing, there's going to be problems. I think to have an owner that's working with the police, trying to make it better, that speaks a lot to me. That's what we want with our owners. And, you know, even in this instance, he's the one who called the police, you know, which is what we want. We don't want things going unreported. And so I think it is cooperating with the police and that things have gotten better. I feel confident giving them another chance. So that's where I stand. So shall we vote? And I suppose we better make this a
Roll call vote?
roll call vote.
Okay. We just need the motion.
I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant this
Motion
request.
to approve a grant to the request.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens.
All right, I will start the vote. So it is a motion to approve, and the vote has started.
Come on. Oh, what am I doing? I just kidding. I gotta stop using my computer at home. Yes, but I can't. There it is. It couldn't get to the save. There it is.
Okay. That item passed 3-1.
Okay. And like I said before, all this is just a recommendation to the council. They'll have the final say the 19th, 6 o'clock in the other one. Okay?
Yep, we can move on to the next item.
Item number 10, consideration with possible action on an application for a Class B combination license by SV2 LLC at 1911 University Avenue for the 2018-19 license year, currently Shannon's Haystack LLC staff.
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Steuer.
Second.
Second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes all together now. All together now.
I'm not
We're
going
good
there.
to move on?
Not going there? All right, all right. I thought you'd be a Beatles fan.
We'll harmonize some of the things.
Okay, number 11, consideration with possible action on an application for a Class B combination license by Quilts and Beer. Sorry, it's a great combination there. LLC at 500 North Baird Street for the 2018-19 license year. Currently ACB LLC. Staff.
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Is everybody here for this?
Could you,
Could-
motion open the floor, I just want to hear what.
Yeah, I can. So,
If you don't mind.
First of all, open the floor by Alder Stoyer, second by Alder Stevens, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. If you wouldn't mind stating your name and address and filling out one of the forms there.
We just need to be informed.
I gotta be informed, this is just too sweet to miss.
Close.
It is Jeff Connor, CEO at Edouard. I live at 1733 Harold Street. My partner in the business does quilting on the side.
No, it's not Scottish or.
Pretty much it, no. That's it.
Not quilting and at the, and
No.
not like a quilting club that,
No, I mean, if he ever sells them, I guess, maybe that'll be something, but it was just something we came up with, so.
okay. Okay,
Well, it's catchy.
yep, it is, it's very unique,
All right.
thank you.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion close the floor by Alder Stoyer.
Second.
Second by Alder Vander Leest. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we got the floor closed, gentlemen. I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Stoyer, second by Alder Vander Leest. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Okay, we're good to go.
Item number 12, consideration with possible action on an appeal by Ricky Atkinson regarding the denial of his public vehicle operator license. Staff.
Law Department recommends denial of this appeal. The appellant has pending charges that substantially relate to the license activity. And pursuant to our ordinance, an applicant can be denied for pending charges that substantially relate.
We
don't have-
We have the arrest records.
It's on the second side. It's a double-sided copy.
Oh,
Oh, I guess I should.
oh. Flipped it over.
What did I do with mine? We each had one.
Here. That's yours.
Ah,
Sorry.
all right. Okay.
Just for clarification, just battery with domestic abuse modifier, is the word modifier, I just need.
It just means that it was a battery involving a domestic violence. Am I saying that correctly? If it involves a domestic disturbance and it's a battery, you add the domestic violence modifier to make it a domestic violence battery versus just a regular battery.
Okay, and PD?
We concur with the Law Department.
I was gonna say, is somebody here?
Okay,
I'll motion open the floor.
motion open the floor by Alder Stoyer.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. If you could please come up, state your name and address, and if you didn't get a chance to fill out one of the forms.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Name's Rick Atkinson, 901 North Webster. Well, when this had happened, my girlfriend had been drinking, and I was at work, and I kept driving a cab, and I came home, and I didn't really know what was going on. And she said it happened a few days before. On that day, she called the police, and she was drinking at the time again. And it's just been an ongoing situation. He has mental illness, she's bipolar. And when she starts mixing, pills and alcohol together, it becomes a problem. And I have no felony convictions. I have no history of violence. I've been driving a cab for several years now. And the pre-trial's coming up, so I don't want to get into too much on that. It's kind of, I just gotta, it's basically, like I said, I've only drive 3 days a week. And, because I have a bad back, so I don't really drive that often.
Questions?
Well, you said you really can't speak a whole lot on the matter because it's pending trial.
Right.
So,
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it was one incident?
Yes.
And And I don't know, if there's anything you can lend to us, that'd be great. Otherwise, you did mention that she was bipolar and it was
Yes.
mixing. This has happened in the past
Yeah,
as
the
well?
police have been to the house numerous times for her, and they've taken her a few times, but they have never taken me on anything. So she has a history, like I said.
So there was an altercation of some sort?
There wasn't really an altercation either. I had just said to her, because of what she did again, I said, you know, something's gotta happen here because I'm getting kind of worried about her. I've been worried about her because of her mixing the pills. She's trying to commit suicide again, which is an ongoing thing with her. And all I said to her is that, you know, this has to stop. One of us has to leave. You know, I can't handle the stress anymore. And then she got upset, and that's all there was. There was nothing else. Because the following, like 2 days later is when she called the police. And she was drinking that day. So she kind of added more things to it than what actually happened.
She called the police? on-
Yeah, and I was
on
on,
you?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I was gone at work at the time. when she
Oh, so
called.
there was no reason for that, I suppose?
Yeah.
In your mind's eye?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have right now.
How long have you been together?
About 15 years, and she had the no contact order lifted, and we lived together. I have a copy of that right here.
15 years and this is the first
Yeah,
one, okay.
You're still together.
yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Motion to close the floor.
thank you. Yep.
Thanks.
Motion by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, gentlemen, what are your wishes?
Defer
Mr.
over there.
Stevens can go first. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr.
Stevens.
Stevens?
Got any idea? What do you think? How do you feel?
I'm okay with it.
They give him a chance here.
Yeah, I think, we don't know how this is gonna play out in the court. It is a misdemeanor either way. And to deprive a man of his livelihood, even though it's part-time, I would hate, I don't see how that makes things any better. And they've been together 15 years. This is the first incident of this. We don't know if she is indeed bipolar. We're only getting one side of the story here. I have no reason to doubt him. This will all get played out in court, and if any consequences he needs to face, he'll face there. I don't see why we need to add depriving him of his livelihood at the same time on top of that, so.
I'm okay with this, Paul.
Yeah. Okay, so motion to
Motion to approve.
by Alder Steuer,
Second.
second by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? We are unanimous again.
Good luck, good luck.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are good to move on.
Okay, oh, that was silly of me. Items, I jumped to the reports. I should read the item first. Item 13, renewal applications for liquor and/or beer licenses for the 2018-19 license year staff.
Law Department has no objections.
No objections.
Could I just ask a question?
Certainly.
Thank
by
you,
all
Chair.
means.
Just wondering how many licenses we're looking at. It just looks like
3.
three.
When you're
That's it.
open, with the new one, we granted, I believe, 3 for the foundation.
And how many do we have left right now?
3.
3. That's it. Okay, I'm fine. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Alder Vanderleest.
Second.
Second by Alder Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, yep. Good to go.
Okay,
Next item.
we are into informational. Report from the Water Utility Department regarding the lead pipe removal project. I don't think there's anyone, I don't know if there's really, well, they sent out, I don't know if anybody really needs to be here to
Right.
actually.
The report is in the packet.
In the packet, yeah.
And previously, I think the committee said that the report would
Sufficient.
suffice, right? And if there are any
Right.
questions, then we could ask
Right.
the director to
Yep.
to attend at the next the next meeting.
Would she be at council, just in case, or not?
I don't,
I mean, if we receive and place on file, which I was gonna make the motion.
yeah.
Quick question then also, Randy, when you're done.
Okay,
Okay.
Uh,
Go ahead, Les.
yeah, go ahead. Your
I was
question?
just gonna ask you, how did the money hold out as far as we had some state money and we had some Packer money?
Federal
Do we-
money.
Do we still have any money left?
That I do not know. That would be a question.
That'd be nice
for-
to know
for
if you
water
wanna bring that to
utilities.
council.
I believe there was just something in an email not long ago. It's a little vague, but I think we just got some more money.
Be nice to have that.
I think they've done a lot of good work as
Yeah.
far as,
But we've got that information
Getting
in
the
the
job
email.
done.
Sure.
if you look on Shawano Avenue, all the cuts they made in the,
Mm-hmm.
on the street there to pull all them pipes out. I think they did a pretty good job. I think they're following up. See, a lot of people don't wanna let them in their house, stuff like that, to see if they really got lead pipes. Some confusion on that part, they're not trying to do anything, as far as they're trying to improve the situation. So that's some of the problem too. And some people won't admit they got lead pipes. I don't know why, but, because I was on the Improvement Services Committee there, and we had some issues like that with people were not
Yep,
letting people in to check it.
I felt threatened.
Yeah. So
who knows?
I think they've done pretty well first.
Yeah, by the report here, they're making progress, so,
We could, that's something we could ask her at another time, Mr. Clerk. So I make a motion to receive and place on file.
motion received and placed on file by Alder Steuer, second by Alder Stevens. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have received it and placed it on file unanimously.
All right, we are good for the next item.
Okay, item 2, liquor violation report from the police department for June 11th, 2018. PD.
Okay, the liquor law violation report is pretty much the catch-22 bar on Abram Street in East Mason. Over the past couple weeks, starting before the Memorial Day weekend, the owner is trying to create an outdoor beer garden area. And with that, she got the approval for the outdoor beer garden, but there were some stipulations that there had to be a 6-foot tall fence, that you can't pass alcoholic beverages in and out. There was also one about where she placed her speakers, since
yep.
it's in a residential
Remember that.
neighborhood. To, I guess, play nice with the neighbors where the music wasn't very loud. One of our officers was driving by. Her outdoor beer garden consisted of 2 cinder blocks with a 2x4 approximately 24 inches, 2 feet off the ground. That was the fence that she erected that she said was approved for her outdoor beer garden. Our officer made contact with her because he saw her and some other patrons sitting outside. When he went up to talk to her, they immediately went back inside the bar. He went in to talk to her. While he was there, he got sent to another emergent call, so he advised the owner that he would be back and talk to her later. When he went back to talk to her later, she denied even being outside. And then she said they weren't drinking anything outside. The speaker, she did agree to turn down. He addressed that. The officer advised her that she'd be receiving some citations in the mail. I know since it was a Memorial Day weekend when this was happening, she asked if she could put up a snow fence. At the time, Captain Florence, who was in charge of that district, was waiting for a legal opinion. He talked to her on the phone before he got the legal opinion. He said, okay, for now we could do it, but then he requested Officer Van Arum, who was the district community police officer, once he got the legal opinion, to go and tell her no, that wasn't allowed. She wasn't happy with that. She was very verbally abusive to Officer Van Arum. Previously, Officer Eric Allen was the one that saw her outside. She was also swearing at them. She does not want police inside her bar. Whenever we go there, we ask to go inside. She directs the officers, no, you will stay outside. She does not want us inside her bar, which is a violation. Officer Van Arum then went back a couple days later to talk to Cindy, because once again he saw her 2x4s with the cinder blocks. He wanted to discuss it with her. She made accusations that the police department is targeting her and going after her. Officer Van Arum tried going inside the bar. She pushed the door shut on his face, wouldn't let him inside the bar. She was subsequently arrested for that. With that, I just found out the district attorney is referring that back to a municipal charge for the resisting arrest. But she continued with her little outdoor beer garden with the 2x4s, saying that that's what was approved, even though when she went before, and I apologize, whatever committee approved that, she had renderings of, you
Yeah.
know, a beautiful brick
Yeah,
garden. Well, I
it's
don't
gonna be
think-
beautiful, I remember.
Yeah, it's cinder blocks and the 2x4 is what's out there right now. With that, she continues, I've had numerous phone conversations with her. I've literally had to hang up the phone with her because she repeatedly tells me and the police department that we could go F off. So with that, when she gets to that, there's no logic or you can't reason with her, so I will just hang up with her and then talk to her later. So with that, we do have we will be willing to work with her, but it seems she thinks that we're out to get her, and it deals with stuff, once again, when I worked night shift way back in February with her and the former lease owner on the bar. She's claiming burglary, even though we tried telling her it's civil issues, and she's mad at the police department because we won't charge up with burglary.
Yep, by all means.
Thank you, Chair. You know, it's kind of amazing, because I just remember when she came forward, you know, we listened, and it sounded like you're gonna do things accordingly, and change the speakers, and be friendly to the neighbors, but the whole thing with the fencing, I mean, that doesn't seem like any kind of fence. I mean,
No, I mean,
I'm trying to think what was approved. I mean, it was something more
Yeah, she even
substantial.
had her mason, she had the man who was going to be making it with her at the
Whatever happened to
committee. And it,
I honestly don't know. Like I said, I apologize. I just stepped into
Yeah,
this position
right, but that's
last
something
Monday.
that-
But I mean, I even drove on past it on my way to work on my very last night shift, and I looked at it and I kind of chuckled to myself because I'm like, it's to me not even a fence. It's more of a nuisance that you would trip over. It can't stop anything from happening.
Is there a chance that, I mean, with something like this, and she has a court case now on this?
I believe she is meeting with the city attorney
Okay.
tomorrow for a pretrial.
Okay, fine.
Another thing, I was talking to her about a personnel matter because she wanted to file a complaint. I have asked for the video. I believe that was last Tuesday. She informed me that there won't be any video of the incident, which is a violation of her stipulations, which will be also being addressed.
Is there a chance, was there anything else? I mean, you could lose your license over something like this, I would think, so. All right, well, okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Motion to receive and place on file.
okay, yeah, thanks for the updates, this will be good to know. We'll see what happens, and we got your back.
Thank you.
Motion by Alder Vanderleest, second by Alder Stevens, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. Oh, yes, Alder Dorf has joined us, and Alder Johnson is also here. Through the whole thing, such stamina.
This is fun.
Public hearings were not there, so I will take a motion to adjourn it.
So moved.
Motion by Alder Steuer, seconded by Alder Vanderleest, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.
Alders, just remember to leave the meeting.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna spend the night here.
Let me, you know what I mean.
Okay, yep.
I think it leaves me off.
I'm just gonna give you his number.
Yep, nope.